If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Dan and Amy, a lot of hot mic moments last night at the Dem presidential debate numero uno, and we have that including the arrival of all the candidates. They came together.
What the? Come on, get out! Noodles, seesaw, oopsie, lot sweat, hoo-ha, jitters, Sir Wide Bottom!
Oh, I'm stuck. Easy, boy.
Sir Widebottom, I thought, performed the best last night. So it was a breakout debate for Sir Widebottom.
Krusty the Clown was there. Everybody was there. Chug Chug the comeback clown.
They were all there. They had a lot to say, almost as much as Chuck Todd, who was only there for half the debate and clocked the fourth most talk time.
Well, Chuck, yeah.
Perhaps hundreds of millions of guns still on the streets. Is there a role for the federal government in order to get these guns off the streets?
I need my binder.
What's happening?
We are hearing our colleagues' audio. If the control room could turn off the mics.
Y'all are trying to be the news.
Yeah, if the control room could turn off the mics of our previous moderators, we will.
I think it's the prior moderators. You know, we are prepared for everything.
Guess what, guys? We are going to take a quick break. We're going to get this technical situation fixed. We will be right back.
Yeah, and then they took a break. They thought they had it fixed, but they didn't.
Our sister visit.
So Savannah Guthrie in the bathroom. So Mike's
With
on.
Lester.
Yeah.
Lester's in the back.
Oh, boy.
Indeed.
Somebody turn off Savannah Guthrie's
for all
mic.
the people who will be able to share in the celebration.
Oh, boy, folks.
Especially
We have a bit of a technical problem.
will be the Queen's public appearances.
You know,
An embarrassing moment for NBC.
That happened to Kara Phillips on CNN once. She had her mic on, then she went to the bathroom and she was ripping on her sister-in-law. And it all was broadcast live about how they have to go on this upcoming vacation with her family and she can't stand her.
Always got to
Make sure you turn off your mic, people.
be wary of the hot mic. You know, it's even the greatest intellect that the Western world has ever seen, President Obama, fell for the old hot mic gag.
Oh, that's
when
right.
he was with
Putin, right?
No,
Or,
Putin's yes man, Medvedev back in the day.
After this election's over, it'll be different.
All right, for some sober analysis of what transpired last night and what will tonight, we're pleased to be joined by Salena, Zito, Washington Examiner reporter, New York Post columnist, CNN contributor, author of the book The Great Revolt Inside the Populist Coalition, Reshaping American Politics. Salena, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
Last night,
Last night.
Is there anything memorable other than Bobby O'Rourke's perfect Spanish accent?
Well, with all the bilingual answers in the beginning of the debate, I thought were interesting, but I don't know wise choice among the candidates because it came across as though they were like trying to show off and not really trying to earn anyone's vote, but just saying, look what I can do.
Yeah.
At least that's the impression that came across to me.
Doesn't that whole thing come across as a little patronizing?
Yeah. I was trying to be nice, but yeah, actually it's very patronizing.
Yeah.
I don't think that the Democrats quite frankly have grasped how authenticity is incredibly important to their voters. They're excited to vote. They want to vote against Donald Trump, but they also want to vote for someone. And so there was a lot out there, if you are to the left of the party, for those voters to be excited about. But what there was not a lot of positions among those that are on the stage, with the exception of Tim Ryan, for voters that they need to win over to win a general election. there was nothing on the table for independent voters or unhappy Republican voters or Democratic voters that either sat out or voted for President Trump last year, or not last year, 2016. So, I think that was, that's my biggest takeaway
Right, but
from last night is that Donald Trump probably slept really well last night after that performance.
he watched it on Air Force One and tweeted that it was boring. So they're
Put
all
him to sleep. Yeah.
they're all searching for a way to stand out in this crowd. But did anyone in your mind have a breakout moment or did something that, to get noticed or recognized, especially those polling lowest, like Tulsi Gabbard, Ryan that you just mentioned, Delaney?
So I think Delaney had the best night, but I don't think anybody in a primary, the type of voter that shows up in a primary is going to vote for him. He or Ryan would give Trump the most of a bellyache out of the first, set. Elizabeth Warren came out strong in the beginning, but then she sort of disappeared, not because she didn't have anything to say, but because the moderators didn't go back to her. And Amy Klobuchar had good moments, and she was able to articulate herself, although I think most of her answers were very senatorial rather than very candidate-driven, like a presidential election rhetoric that you need. You don't really want process. You want someone that talks about big ideas. And Julian Castro had a good night, those are the ones that stand out to me as someone who's trying to imagine a general election candidate who could beat Donald Trump. But I wouldn't say that would be Elizabeth Warren for sure. I wouldn't say that would be Castro for sure, but that would be Delaney and Ryan.
Yeah, Delaney and Ryan, though, apparently have not gotten word that the Democrat Party has jettisoned those ethnic, working, middle-income types in places like Youngstown, Ohio, and other references that were made by both Delaney and Ryan. I mean, those two were so out of step with the other 8 on stage, it was noticeable.
Well, but interestingly enough, they're very much in step with the middle of the country. And Delaney talked about Western Maryland. Western Maryland is very culturally similar to Western Pennsylvania, to West Virginia, and to Eastern Ohio, where Tim Ryan is located. So, it didn't surprise me that those two would resonate with an independent or Republican or a moderate Democrat. But, they don't stand a chance in the primary, right, where the voters are what I call the white wokes, the faculty lounge, if you will. Those are the people that are driving who wins in the primary.
What about Tulsi Gabbard and that exchange she had with Tim Ryan, talking about and her having sort of more standing to make the claim because of her service to the country that this whole sort of engagement in places we shouldn't be in is a fool's errand, and that was sort of her moment last night.
Yeah, that was her moment. I don't know if that's enough to jettison her to a higher place, but she did get to sort of have that presidential timber moment, right, where she can say, "I did this, and I know this because I did this." So that was a good moment for her, and it hurt Ryan because she sort of took him out at the knees, but not in the most, sort of. It wasn't really fair in the way that she did it, but that doesn't matter because politics is not fair.
Right. No, I thought she held her own in that moment. I'm really looking forward to tonight, aren't you? I mean, you got Biden, Bernie, they're going to be standing right next to each other. Then you have Kamala and Andrew Yang and Hickenlooper and some others that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
So I think out of that crew, I think Kamala Harris has the most to gain tonight. I think you're going to see Mayor Pete and Bernie go after Biden, probably subtly. It's very incredibly awkward to do that when you're right beside someone. But they're going to undercut him, and Biden, depending on how he reacts, this is a moment for Kamala Harris to rise in the polls and reach the potential of the rollout, which I think, by the way, she had the best rollout of all the candidates, but has sort of fizzled ever since.
Also, another indelible moment last night, which could be again tonight if they ask the same question and do a show of hands, is how many people would turn over their private health insurance for government health insurance, for just sort of access to government-run health institutions effectively. And 2 of the 10 last night did raise their hands, de Blasio and Warren. Boy, people are very unsettled about health insurance in this country. They don't like the idea, generally speaking, of less control over their health decisions, which government-run health insurance would sort of mean. I think most people understand that. And so to see de Blasio and particularly Warren stake out that position, it'd be interesting to see what happens tonight, because that could be a real opportunity for Republicans to sort of revisit Obamacare and that whole health insurance policy area that they sort of walked away from to their detriment in 2018.
Well, and I think that, look, that's a dangerous place to go, because you are not going to win over those suburban voters that you won over in the 2018 midterms by taking away their, health insurance. And the union voters, the ones that migrated towards Trump, they like their health care plans. And that's not going to win them over either. So I'll be interesting to see what the fallout is from those answers.
She is Salena Zito, Washington Examiner reporter, New York Post columnist, CNN contributor. Her book, The Great Revolt, Inside the Populist Coalition, Reshaping American Politics. Salena, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate your insights.
Thanks so much for having me.
Take care.
We'll talk to you soon. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download